So welcome to the book launch for John Keene's Punk's New and Selected Poems. We're super happy to have you with us. Glad we got such a big crowd. And thank you everyone who donated to the Bureau. We really appreciate that. That enables us to keep doing this so that we can, keep the store well stocked and keep our Zoom account in order so we can keep doing these things. So my name is Greg Newton. I am the co-founder of the Bureau of General Services Queer Division with my partner, Donnie Jochum. And we co-founded the Bureau in 2012 as a pop-up shop, and we've never stopped popping. And here we are now in the center. We've been at the LGBT Center in Manhattan since 2014, and we are happily reopened. And although we're still mostly doing virtual events, we're going to return to some in-person events starting in mid-February. So please check out our website, bgsqd.com, and you can see what our upcoming events are. You can also sign up for our bi-weekly newsletter on the website as well. I also wanted to mention that you can purchase John's book from our online store, and I put that in the chat function, so you can do that as well. So before we get started, I'll be reading the bios for John and Reggie before they both read. And if anyone has any questions, hold on to those. You can put them in the chat function, and I'll read those aloud as we get towards the end of the hour and 15 minutes. And I think that's all the housekeeping from me. So I'm going to get started by introducing our readers. And there we go. So John Keene is a writer, translator, professor, and artist who was named a MacArthur Fellow in 2018. In 1989, Keene joined the Darkroom Writers Collective and is a graduate fellow of the Cave Canem Writers Workshops. He is the author of Annotations and Counternarratives, both published by New Directions, and as well as several other works, including the poetry collection Seismosis with artist Christopher Stackhouse, and a translation of Brazilian author Hilda Hilst's novel, Letters from a Seducer. Keene is the recipient of many awards and fellowships, including the Windham-Campbell Prize, the Whiting Foundation Prize, the Republic of Consciousness Prize, and the American Book Award. He teaches at Rutgers University-Newark. And Reginald Harris won the 2012 Cave Canem Northwestern University Press Poetry Prize for Autogeography, a Pushcart Prize nominee, recipient of Individual Artist Award for Poetry and Fiction from the Maryland State Arts Council, and finalist for a Lambda Literary Award for 10 Tongues Poems of 2002. His work has appeared in numerous journals and anthologies online. He lives in Brooklyn with his partner, where he pretends to work on another manuscript. So thank you everybody for coming. Thank you for your donations, and let's get started with a reading from Reggie Harris. Please put your hands visibly together so we can all see you clapping for Reggie. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Greg. It's great to be here virtually. And it's an honor to be asked to read with John from this amazing book with a cover that always makes me laugh. I love it. I love it. I love the book. I love everything about it. So thank you. I'm going to be brief because I know we're all here to hear John. Just 4 poems, 2 older things and 2 newer ones. So here we go. Even though it's Friday. Prelude to a Saturday night. Lock the working week away. Practice perfect placement of a cigarette, a glass, when to get loud, when to perform. Prepare each perfect line. Buff your nails to a high sheen. Prepare your fingers for their late night snaps, your head for tossing, ass for switching, turning, twitching, following the rhythm down whatever street the DJ takes you. Choose the right outfit from those mopped from this week's stores. Consult your friends, a local dealer, the bank machine, the stars, a mirror. Beat your face back to its teens. tip down glass-strewn sidewalks as if on a runway. Alcohol is anodyne, antidote to loneliness. Accept the gift of every head turning in your direction. Tell them regally what you want, what you will, and what you won't. Toss the door wide open and let them have it. I'm originally from Baltimore, as almost everybody knows, most people know. So this is a Baltimore poem, Baltimore Uproar by Romare Bearden, which is a mural, a collage by Bearden that's in the Uptown Avenue Market metro station in Baltimore. Get off here. This is a story you've been told. These streets before the trash, the rats, the crackheads nodding to ghost music. That past a distant gleam of notes, sound magicians dreaming, rising from these streets. Diminutive personifications of the beat, rhythm made compact flesh, flamboyant fly-brim hipsters high on hidey-ho, lexicographers of jive, and our dark lady, transformed from turning tricks to trickster by the music through her songs. From the avenue to the after hours, you could hear it in the changes, the shift from working day to glittering night. Shattering twists of phrase, calling out the turn of a gloved hand sheathed in silver from from fingertip to elbow to hide the tracks beneath. Rising from the platform, the scent of gardenias is in the train's retreating roar, leaving departing commuters its inspangled shards of sound. These multicolored stones are her petals, of frozen music, always calling back, urging on, rise up, get off here, rise up. Lately, I seem to be interested in repetition and cliche, I guess, and the ways they twist and turn, and how you can have numerous meanings or numerous ways of phrasing particular things. So although these two poems might be a little bit repetitious, that's just where I am right now. I don't know, maybe because we're in this sort of weird state where every day is the same, but then it's different, but then it's not, and then suddenly it's almost February, and what happened to December? So this one is called Untitled. Tied his hand back so he could not speak. Schuster so she could not speak. Slowed her eye roll so she could not speak. Cracked his finger snaps so he could not speak. Stopped the finger pops so he could not sing. Broke the backbeat so she could not sing. Tossed out the baby so he could not sing. Lined up the rings so she could not sing. Disinfected the sweat so she could not dance. Redlined the blue lights so he could not dance. Threw out the red dress so she could not dance. Deep freeze the funk so he could not dance. Pinned her hat back so she could not pray. Hemmed in the so he could not pray. Poisoned the wells so he could not pray. Framed the fans so she could not pray. Beat down the bop so we could not walk. Rolled up the runway so we could not walk. Checked the swing so we could not walk. Untied the second line so we could not walk. Blocked the we so I could not be. Blocked the we so I could not be. And the last thing I'm going to read before we get to John is called Alibi, after a poem by Natasha Sajay. I was in the pocket. I was in parenthesis. I was in loco parentis. I was in the mirror. I was in love and in trouble. I was in a daze. I was in a dream. I was in the shadows. I was in my own house. I was in the game. I was unbought and unbossed. I was under surveillance. I was uninvited. I was under their foundations. I was underfunded. I was underwhelmed. I was under their fingernails. I was unmattered. I was an unseen God. I was on the corner. I was on the shoulder. I was on the margins. I was on the one. I was on the right track. I was on the watch list. I was on the radio. I was on blue paper. I was on the road. I was on invisible strings. I was somebody. I was being me. I was who I was, who I was. I am. Thank you all very much. And thank you especially to John for inviting me.
Whoa, I mean, wow, Reggie, that was amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much. It was a fabulous reading. I knew you would be fabulous. You know, I'm a huge fan of your work, which has influenced mine. So I'm glad you were able and willing to be part of this event. And what I would ask everyone to do is please check out Reggie's beautiful books, 10 Tongues and Autogeography, as well as his other work online. Many thanks to Greg and the Bureau of General Services Career Division. I've never read at BGSDQ before, but I've attended readings there, here in the virtual space, and remember when you guys first opened. So it's an honor to officially launch this book with BGSDQ. Many thanks also go to Alan and Ben at the Song Cave, amazing editors and publishers for Publishing Punks, and for all of their editorial and publishing vision, not just with this book, but with all their books. I should say that many were the times that I stopped at the Song Cave table at the New York Art Book Fair for years. Alvin could, of course, verify this, just to linger over and eventually purchase the books they published. So it's really, really wonderful to be published by them. And I want to actually thank everyone who registered and is watching via the Zoom link, and those watching on YouTube. It is a Friday evening, I know. For those of us on the East Coast, we're getting hit by snow, so it's probably not going to be out and about. But I know many of you probably are Zoomed or WebEx out after this week, you know, at least those of us who are able to work virtually. So I'm going to try not to go on too long. And I would like to dedicate this reading to two poets who are also extraordinary thinkers, teachers, activists, and visionaries, one of whom I knew well, Colin Robinson, and one of whom I didn't know but saw speak many times and learned from, Bell Hooks. We lost both of them within this past year's cycle, so may we all of us return to their works and remember them and so many others' names and works. I'm going to read from several sections of this book, which is divided into 7 parts, 7 sections. I was telling the writer Zach Eisenberg in a conversation, which is now up at book form, that I think of it like my last book as a kind of mixtape. So this one consists more of what I think of as ghost collections. So books that never came out, but are finally out, right? So I'm finally glad they're in print. And the first poem is, let's see. Actually try to be organized here. The first poem is called Lakeview Sojourn. It's a Chicago poem. I spent about 10 years commuting to and thus living in Chicago. And so, and actually technically it was 10 continuous years, but before those 10 years started, I actually had a quarter that I spent in Chicago. And so this was actually provoked by that quarter, though I learned to appreciate Chicago a lot more. And it's one reason snow usually doesn't bother, snow and cold don't bother me anymore. Okay, so Lakeview Sojourn. As I said, it's a bop, which is a form I believe that was created by people at Cave Canem. I know Afam Michael Weaver, or maybe Afam Michael might have created the form, but I know many people have perfected it, played with it, perfected many Cave Canem writers, including one of my favorite writers, Larry Van Cleef Stefanon, whose poems, whose bops in particular, always run through my head. So, Lakeview Sojourn. Boys Town, so far from home and lonesome, loved ones not far by car or phone or email, still this silence, some nights unreachable. I chill listening to rapper stretching melodies, preaching brotherhood, sisterhood, family, strong pleas for unity, freedom. But what do they think of us, of me? I want my people to be free, to be free. These Lakeview streets alive with solidarity, mine too, viewed from the perspectives of a few affinities, class, same gender love, and so much else that falls between. This scene, however, leaves little room for blackness as I live it, not exotic, a mere mirror, but the center, the same tunes blaring from every doorway, and I do not enter. Liberating body and soul will never be easy. I want my people to be free, to be free. So I've learned to thrive on silence, exile cunning, past surviving, fashioning my own spaces, places nurturing passions I live and own, and passing them on, remaining open, imagining possibilities that free us nexuses where all my families connect, dialogue and respect where no one mans the barricades and cords from every singer conjure our common futures from forgotten words. I want Black people to be free, to be free. Pardon me, most deaf is not part of this crowd, but you know, if you were, pardon me, most deaf. Okay, let's see here. So this is a poem I wrote many years ago, and I remember the first time I read it, I said, okay, let me ask the audience, do you know who this person is? And about half the people in the audience raised their hand, and the other people, half of the people, you know, looked at me like I was kind of, you know, had 10 heads. But I'm sure at this point, everyone knows who Tyson Beckford is, right? Does everyone know who Tyson Beckford is? Okay. So, a sonnet to Tyson Beckford. A sonnet to Tyson Beckford strikes me as frivolous in its late summer light. The city hunkers down in stocks and indifference, and the children starve on either bank of the Silver River. But even beauty has its role on the trading floor of moral reckoning, and though every lyric is a voucher of our failure, there are times when only a poem, like daydreams or a lover's arms, can satisfy a certain quality of hunger. Okay, let's see here. Okay. So from the second section, which is called The Lost World, it was a series of poems that I wrote. They're all prose poems. And I actually thought of even at one point publishing them as their own little chapbook, but I'm glad they're actually, as I said, in print earlier. This one is called Oh Little Butch Queen, Don't Try It. And I'll just share that when I sent this in a group of other poems to I think it was the Indiana Review, which did publish it. The editor changed the U in Butch to I, and I said, no. I intend for it to be a Butch Queen, right? That actually has a meaning. So, okay, here we go. Oh, little Butch Queen, don't try it. The Empress sees you, so step from behind that screen into the blue light where this giantess, a silver tower draped in a ruby boa and more attitude than the rest of the club put together, can see you ever better. Sweetness. Height perfect, smile like a Jordan Marsh torchère, back like a bike rack, maybe not enough groceries filling your basket. A light skin, skinny Walter Payton. Seem kind of shy, or maybe you just don't want to give me the good word. If you don't know it, keep your mouth shut. Some bad pussy done bit off your tongue. Mother's got the cure for that. One palm as long as the shadow tapering behind me strokes my chin, another hooks my shoulder, reels me in to the glitter and spangle is soft underneath as well, kneaded dough, fragrant with cheap rum and old spice and cinnamon. I hold on tight and don't let go, clasping her center tighter, tighter till I feel our sweat and lashes breathing meld, and the giantess whispers, okay, back up, sweetie. I do want to get to know you, but I'm not that kind of girl. All righty then. My buddy returns with his girl so we can drop X and perform our group dance. The giantess hands me a matchbook with a number etched in it. I accept. Drop a dime, sweetness. Call a lady sometime. Okay. So Reggie mentioned Romery Bearden, and And so this is a Bearden poem. It's also a poem about Charlottesville, where I spent a couple of years. So it'll all come together. Postcard Ardor, A-R-D-O-R. Ardor. Flipping through Bearden volumes at the Alderman Library, an ideal Harlem here in Charlottesville, so full of color and soul, becomes my real one. How this short, pale brother manages to nurture the faces, how this short, pale brother manages to suture the faces, landscapes, snippets, backgrounds, so movingly to create a vivid whole. There is the moment when we each let go and connect with the collective power. Walking with the role, unlearned gestures to signify our being home, conversation with distant cousins I barely know. There was a time around the age of 14 when I thought I lacked the necessary keys, as if the door or beats or adapt that holds the world together were that easy to identify, but beyond me. Then I felt something deeper, more fluid and secret than that vibrating inner field. The map, the collage's figures peer back to say, reveals itself slowly. I keep looking carefully for something to remember and hold as my own, even if it cannot save me. And this is another one of the postcard poems. It's called Blue Solitude, and you'll see who it's to. Magnolia mornings framed in blue solitude, he comes, invoking Billy. We're always striving in the wake of prior narratives. Myth was one method to understand truth, romance, or the theory of romance another. Harlem, Minton's, junk, gritty harmony of too much cold, busted blues, dust. Even fear disappears at the end of a love affair. In death, all debts come due. Her story, allegory. This is one of my favorite poems, so I was glad I was able to include it. I think it was back in 2001, there was a conference. Some of you, or actually many of the people here were probably at this conference. It was called What's American About American Poetry? And it was a fascinating conference. It was at the New School. And there was a series of moments and incidents that happened. But one of the ones was when the poet, I think Thalius Moss, who I adore, she was talking about where poetry came from. She said, poetry comes from, sitting in the kitchen, hearing, relatives talk, hearing people, basically talk on the porch, just snippets of songs you hear, on the radio that people sing, etc. Okay. And the poet John Hollander, who was then alive, rudely objected. I mean, I think he got up when he was able to give his piece. It was very, very negative. So anyway, so there was pushback, and I think that most of the poets up on stage, the white poets, didn't really say anything. So I think at one point when Sonia Sanchez in this panel that followed, she kind of responded in her amazing way. So anyway, so I thought, but I was taking notes as I used to always do. So anyway, so this poem is a cento of a sort, though I do adapt the lines, change the lines, and I want to just invoke Evie Shockley here. She wrote a beautiful cento to me a few years ago. So I, think about that all the time whenever I think of this poem. So anyway, it's called A Report on What's American About American Poetry, Conference at the New School. We're fed up with tolerance and writing about whores shooting up heroin. There are no poets of my generation waiting for something to rebel against. On 137th Street and 7th Avenue, a brother was crossing the street, said, a white silence, which is metaphysical, and a black silence, which is political and social. I am not suffering the language of power behind the poem's only boast of Charles Bernstein. He doesn't want to engage the book of Generation X. The beats have already done it, coming from deconstruction and all of that. French theory. When anyone appears to strike a pose, aren't you the sister who is reading Allen Ginsberg? I come from another context altogether. There is so much vitality there, as you can tell from my accent and shit. But really, it's about living language, poetry. To give you another example, a children's game in France, songs and gestures are not our origins, Orpheus. I am a mestizo and went to Iowa, reclaiming language from the seat of power. 2 white women just resigned. 2 Black women who will not be silent. Aren't you the sister was reading Allen Ginsberg? Can you say something about the history and how you feel this competition over anxieties infects us all? Or Janie, who knew from Hurston? It's a shame the organization sells only so many copies and a heated discussion ensues because Eros is in there too. We are waiting to rebel against smart bombs and cynicism. Poems are mere ghosts of my generation. There's nothing left behind the words but fragments, rupture, burrows, and someone else that's new, beginning with Native Americans amidst the white middle class between the 2 silences and accidents that happen. A difference that never comes as a work of fiction, only ghosts are silenced behind the poems with heroin and vernacular, but you are too young to be dropping bombs on Mesopotamia like hip hop, to be cynical of the world. You can change hearing Judy Grahn at a woman's gathering, only 1 poem though. Are there studies overthrowing Allende, erasing differences concerning the audience? We keep coming back to Eliot and Pound to rebel against the street and jazz, Africans and bondage. I think I break behind the poems, an East Coast thing. Only minstrels and whores are precursors of cynicism. Don't read Generation X, but look for me, ghosts. Translate my absence into language. Speak to power behind the words. Rebel against the silence. How we doing with time? Okay. I'll read a few more. Okay. So the movie Passing came out. I'm not gonna offer my critique of it, but I was kind of amazed when I heard the director say, "Oh, I never heard of Passing," or something like, I didn't really know too much about this and whatever. I was like, what? I grew up hearing about Passing. Like there's not a Black person I know who grew up who has not heard something about Passing. Okay. So, and in fact, it happened in my own family. So this is a poem I wrote, I believe, I can't remember. It might have been like after one of my Cave Canem years. But anyway, and I think it was based on a brief conversation I might have had with Elizabeth Alexander. But anyway, so I wrote this poem. And so this is kind of my poem about passing. Now, I wasn't passing, but anyway. So there were people called spotters who would, be, I think, employed to spot who was passing. The spotters. And this is set in my home city of St. Louis. The spotters. Sometimes it was the gate alone, such as when some colored men, even after subsisting for decades in a self-imposed exile of whiteness, could not manage to clip or cut from their step that syncopated roll, hard rhythm as if a drum head quivered behind their ears down into their thighs, and their hips and toes, struggling mightily, could not help but follow. Sometimes it was the lips, even non-existent, or the nose, slender as twine plumbed down the face, sometimes more aquiline than many a blue-blooded Virginian, like the Hollywood actor they whispered about, or brown irises that held a little too much rum or bottoms, or bosoms too sweet with jelly, like the way the hair corn silk straight from the womb out and growing paler in summer, funked up and wet in ways that sent the finest pomades into retreat. Most often, it was the skin, rose on the surface, in which plums blossomed, sometimes hidden beneath the lacquer of foundation and a powder mask, white as glazed porcelain, though any hawk-gazed person could spot Africa thriving under there and might call it out despite the danger of staring a real white person, but usually just those trying to pass into the theater to catch a newsreel or afternoon feature, like those 2 aunts, his wife's sisters, who dared for those hours to become someone new, something they had carried inside like the dream of happiness, something they were determined to be, free. Okay. Read a few more. Yeah. Yeah. This one is called Suit, and it is for a former coworker of mine, Phil Horvitz, but it also refers to a performance that his boyfriend at the time, Nayland Blake, the artist Nayland Blake, used famously performed. So anyway, so those two things. You don't need to know that, but just you'll get the resonance. Suit. If sorrow is a suit, its weight is incalculable. One day he's gone and you put it on. One day he's gone and it sews itself inside you. Morning drapes your skin in its invisible fabric. Every memory furs atop a prior memory. Your limbs, your features, your senses extend themselves to accommodate the sadness. One morning you wake and try to wear this new suit in the bathroom or the bedroom, in the shower, or at the front door, down the stairs of the stoop to the walkway hovering before you, and you finally realize you are carrying another body, his body, your former body. Your bodies together in and on you, and this slows you and stills you, weighs more than two bodies or many bodies inside your body. It's like the bodies are breeding bodies, metastasizing bodies. So much bone and vein and hair, and you touch the face, the heat of the seething arteries, feel the sheer new tonnage moving and pressing in on you. Breathe scent like the first breath in a foreign country, and you fear your entry, but you're already in. You think of flight, but woe offers no exit. You sing, you weep, you dance, but there's no way out except one, through your own skin. This one, heavy with sweat, matted, half shed and broken by a delta of scars, smelling of something familiar, indiscernible and animal, slick and smoldering like volcanic rock, as white as ash and death itself. Take it. You take it. You take it off. And let's see. What are we doing here? Two more. This one is a Cecil Taylor poem, and I think I've written like, I don't know how many Cecil Taylor poems, but this is the only one that's really sort of fit to be in a book. And I actually at one point asked someone to give it to him. I don't know if you ever read it, but just knowing that someone passed this on to Cecil Taylor made my day. So, dark to themselves. Invent, experiment. Chaos that doesn't swing but dances tight as a drum head so taut it might explode. Whole notes cleaved into sixteenths with a single blow. Melodies recoded as arpeggios. Say, what do you call this composition? Tiny fingers divining an architectonic flow, four arms jacking cracks in the keyboard as wire and wood cry out in agony. Dual enter, bringing changes. Liberate the dissonance without killing the blues. Unit structure, cut it. They don't teach this joint in the conservatory. Varese by a jelly roll, cereal Waller, harmony ribbons in a Mobius strip. Recut it. Enough is enough. Brother can't play here no more. The customers ain't paying. Even Miles was giggling in the darkness. It's always a bitch to be out front. He summons the baseline of his thoughts in the shadows, tracing a new theory of silence. Don't worry about the next gig. Their ears are still learning. And I'll end with this poem, Beatitude. I felt like at one point I should have a booklet of poems called what I would call sentimental poems. I mean, I guess it felt sentimental to me, but I guess they're not so sentimental, and people do seem to like this little poem. So anyway, so here's Beatitude, which takes, the Christian use of that and plays with it. Beatitude. And also this is, I think, a fitting poem to end because it also invokes Bell Hooks, who spent a good portion of the latter part of her career talking about love, particularly Black love. Beatitude. Love everything. Love the sky and sea, trees and rivers, mountains and abysses. Love animals, and not just because you are one. Love your parents and your children, even if you have none. Love your spouse or partner, no matter what either word means to you. Love until you create a cavern in your loving, until it seethes like a volcano. Love every time. Love your enemies. Love the enemies of your enemies. Love those whose very idea of love is hate. Love the liars and the fakes. Love the tattletales and cowards. Love the hypocrites and hypocrites, the hucksters and the traitors. Love the thieves, because everyone has thought of stealing something at least once. Love the rich who live only to empty your purse or wallet. Love the poverty of your empty coin purse or wallet. Love your piss and sweat and shit. Love your and others' chatter, and it's proof of the expansiveness of nothingness. Love your shadows and their solid century. Love your fears, yesterdays and tomorrows. Love your yesterdays and tomorrows. Love your beginning and your end. Love the fact that your end is another beginning or could be for someone else. Love yourself, but not too much that you cannot love everything and everyone else. Love everywhere. Love in the absence of love. Love the monsters breeding in every corner of every city and suburb, all throughout the soil of the countryside. Love the monster breeding inside you and slaughter him with love. Love the shipwreck of your body, your mind's salted garden. Love, love. Thank you.
Love you, John.
Thank you.
Yes, you can unmute and share some love.
Love you, John. Love you.
Thank you, John.
Thanks to everyone for being here. I really
Yeah.
Thank you, John.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing with us.
John, it was wonderful.
Love you. Love you.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you, John.
Great poems. Great poems.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Gorgeous.
Thank you, Reggie.
Love you.
Thank you, Reggie. It was amazing. Reggie, it was amazing.
Love you, John.
And if someone has a question, now's a good time to ask it.
Did you show the cover? John,
Yeah.
did you show the cover?
Yeah,
That's like the best cover ever. Can we all use your cover? Thank you.
yes. No, it's an Alvin Baltrop photograph, and he was an amazing photographer. He's one of those great photographers that unfortunately didn't receive his due in his lifetime. So any time you can also give someone who deserves a boost. It's a good thing, and it's an honor to have his photography on the cover of this book.
Yeah,
And many thanks to the publishers for making that possible.
Sweet. Does anyone have any questions? Oh, and I hear myself echoing because y'all are. Please mute yourself if you're not asking a question. I see Stephen Fullwood has a question. Go ahead,
Yes,
Stephen.
John, thank you so much, John, for reading tonight. I appreciate it. I love the book. When will you be reading next?
That's a good question. Well, I think the next event I have is actually me not reading. I'm going to be in conversation with Jafari Allen for his new book, Yonder, which is fabulous. So please get that. And then I think shortly after that, or maybe that or before after that, I'm going to be, there's a wonderful anthology called, what is it? It's a poet's novel anthology that Lainey Brown edited at Kelly Writers House. I think that's next week. So anyway, so I'm going to be doing that. So, but I won't be reading again from this probably for a few weeks. So I'll share it on
And
social media.
we have a question from Bruce Morrow saying, tell us more about the title. What does punk mean to you?
Okay, that's a great question. So I like the title because it has so many meanings. You know, on the one hand, like growing up, you know, of course, there's the general meaning of punk, like, you know, somebody who's an outlaw, etc. There's, of course, the Black vernacular meaning of punk, which is, you know, a gay person, right? And so sometimes you would hear people say, well, don't be a punk, or so-and-so is a punk, and it would be like one or the other or both. And then, of course, when I was in my, you know, teens and 20s, it was the era of punk music, punk rock music, which I started to get into both a little bit in high school and then more really towards the end of college. So I like that the word captures all of those meanings and probably more. And every so often, you know, you'll see someone use the word in one of the meanings. And of course, but to me, it always has all those resonances. So yeah, that's where the title comes from. It felt capacious but also multi-layered.
Well, we have one question. Will you be at AWP?
I think so. I'm supposed to be there. I
Okay,
don't know if it will
John.
be in person or.
Excuse me, John,
know.
we will finally have that drink we were supposed to have 2 years ago.
Okay. No, that's good. That's good, Patricia. You can hold me to that. No, I mean, I think I do plan to attend, but you know, as with everything, you know, whether it's in person or whether it's virtual, you know, I don't know. I mean, I have to say, I'm one of those people who has been taking this, not to go into the whole pandemic, but I've been taking this very seriously. So, you know, to me, going places, traveling, you know, you want to be super safe. But I know there are many people in many places in this country. I mean, I was in Louisiana in December, and it was like there was no such thing as a pandemic, you know. So, yeah.
We have a question from, I hope I'm not mispronouncing your name, Soeli Smith. I would love if John could speak to the concept of the queer sublime, and where he locates it in the poems.
Oh my God, that's such a great question. Well, and of course, Soeli took, she's a brilliant.
I'm so sorry, John, for launching the queer sublime at you.
No.
I'm
You
just
are
thinking about it with
okay.
your poem so much.
Yeah, no, okay, so I'm gonna praise, Soeli is a brilliant fiction writer and scholar, right? She's wonderful at both. And I had the pleasure of working with her several times at Rutgers-Newark. And she actually took a class, I think, where we talked about this. I think that was a class we talked on aesthetics where we talked about the sublime. So, I mean, I guess in the sense that, you know, you approach those places where the poem, some of the poems maybe, you know, kind of approach that place where it's almost beyond thought, or it's kind of, I'm thinking of kind of the traditional understanding of the sublime, right? But you think about, like, you know, where you reach that point where it's like beyond thought into feeling. You know, those are those moments, I think, where you kind of capture a kind of queer sublime. I can't think of any off the top of my head. I mean, I think probably, you know, throughout the book there are those moments, you know, where you have a queer sublime. I mean, one of the poems I was going to read was a poem called Winter Elegy, and that poem feels like it just kind of spins off into this other thing. Even strangely enough, you know, it's an old poem. But it mentioned something about, you know, one of the lines is the, you know, president's frail voice on the radio. And it was like, you know, we have a president with a frail voice, you know. So almost like it's like the past looking into the future and kind of taking us beyond what we're able to contemplate. So I think like places and spaces like that are where you have moments of the queer sublime in the book, and I think they kind of pop up throughout. But also, one of the things I wanted to do here was also include poems that are funny and somewhat silly. And so one of my favorite poems, which actually was its own little book with photographs by the amazing photographer Nicholas Milner, it's called Grind. And that poem, you know, when I read it, I've read it a number of times, so I didn't want to read it tonight. But when I read it, people often laugh and they look nervous about laughing. And I always want to say you can laugh because it's so absurd in places. But also, you know, you reach this moment where it's almost kind of like you're sort of taken out of yourself once you sort of hear it. So anyway, so maybe that's another place where the queer sublime exists. So you just heard a professor BSing. Anyway.
Anybody else have some questions, comments? Anything else they want to share?
Yeah. If not, I mean, I may. Oh, God, I was there. I'll read the poem. I'll end by reading the poem. But oh yeah, please.
Yeah, no, I was wanting you to read the poem. I was wondering too how you felt about like the collected part, like thinking about the book in terms of the collected. So, or you could just skip that question and read that poem because that was my first begging was the poem.
Oh yeah, well, no, that's a wonderful question. I mean, one of the things I felt a little weird about was, you know, because usually when people have new and selected out, I mean, it really is based on, you know, it's like a collection of books that people have already seen. So it's like it's kind of like the greatest hits, you know, collection. And in the sense that these books are the early sort of the ghost books that became this book did not appear, on one level it felt a little weird. And I had this actually a wonderful conversation with the editors, and we talked about this. I mean, I think they were the ones who suggested make it new and selected. You know, but I think it's the other thing also, let me just say this, you know, my earlier books, particularly the first book of poetry that I published with Chris Stackhouse, it was a project, you know, and this is the way I think we usually think of books of poetry now, or fiction, right? You have a dedicated project, you work on it, and then everything that's in it directly kind of speaks to, you know, what that theme or concept is. And with this, I thought, well, I mean, punks is kind of, as I say, capacious. So, you know, there's an overarching kind of concept that holds it together. But I also thought it would be, you know, it would be interesting to kind of have something closer to the like much older books of poetry, you know, maybe from the, you know, we think about books that came out in the early 20th century, or certain poets would issue books where you'd have a lot of different things together. So anyway, so that's, I feel like, you know, it holds together in interesting ways. I'm actually kind of surprised, you know, at the kind of inner coherence. But you know, it was not originally what I was kind of imagining, but I'm glad it works. So, and let me just, I'm gonna end with this poem, Grind. So, and like What's American About American Poetry, this poem samples language from dating apps, right? And Grindr in particular, but other ones, right? Because it's like, you know, and these, so again, I play with these lines, but some of them are real, because I thought, you know, if there's anything this is for, this is what it's for. Grind. And I'll also say it can be read across or up and down. So I'm going to read it across. Grind. What are you really looking for? A little banter, some company? I'm bored. With quality, being me, I can be friendly. I don't discriminate. I just don't cling to certain personalities. Whatever you like, massage, music, stretching, wrestling, friends, I want to meet to hook up. The measure of a man, what you do with power or the absence of it, please have a face picture for chatting. Your muscles mean nothing. Travel for work, crisscrossing the country. If this sounds like you hit me up, no agenda, along for the ride, crack it up, looking to get hot and steamy. Does anyone go on dates these days, exploring possibilities? I like bears, or the idea of bears. I appreciate those who read, buy, discreet guys, open profiles, love to laugh and laugh to love, looking for fun now or in the future, 420, despite what the GPS says, not into games, simply complex, born this way, fly guy, what's good is my dog. What's up? I like tops. What's down? Yes, he knows. Looked in, asked if you must, originally from New Jersey, lover of libraries, the package gets the most press. It is what it is. Be smart and mature, unapologetic, big man, regular, masculine, not into fats or femmes, enjoying life. Can someone buy me a drink if it's a six-pack? I have only a heart to offer. All-American bro next door, small town bunny, rather buff dork, searching for similar, no one over 30. I'm a real cool dude till Monday. Back up though, I can't breathe. Just have to just smile like you're my next ex. I am your gate agent, no free pass. Try again, messages not always get through. Cocktail, beer, cigarettes, blunts at my house. You have to have a lot of backbone to live the life you want. In the journey of life, where do you fit in? I want younger passion, like it's golden yellow on the outside, what's within. No worries, twinks are pretty boys. Grenades need not apply. Show me what you got. Cuddle buds and carnage. I'm your guy, welcome here. Rub my belly, bars suck. Just seeing life unfolding. Brains and brawn available for whatever. If you've come for a funeral, you're too early. If you come for inspiration, you're too late. Pick no response. I don't answer to sub. I answer to masculine hairy, a sense of adventure. If you can handle the heat, personality enough, pinching for sleeves. I only look innocent. Random words, disease-free, chemist by day, homme fatale, a cute sidekick to boot. Screwed up, give me a buzz nevertheless. But here for friends, got a thing for black guys. I want a reason to delete, probably bored. I kind of sing opera. Nihil ex nihilo. Damn it. Don't bother me, scrappy little fucker. Unflinchingly honest. Got a thing for white guys exploring laid back, cool Latino, mind talking, open to new, anything rugged, seeking the same witty, leather matey, most likely in a sling, not into hookups. There, I've said it. I'm a bottom, not afraid. I'll stumble onto something to start connections closer to my age. I long to be the person my money thinks I am. Nosy, flying through, faceless torsos, men, not boys, hiker, biker, usually shy but bold, kind of seeing someone blast in a glass. Who do I have to sleep with? Daddy is my job. I'm half serious, seeing what's doing, travel outdoors, partner in crime. It's 4:45 somewhere, a sense of humor. No expectations, expect the impossible. All in one body, play NSA, keeping all my options open. I do have a face, pick, fetish, feet or ankles, just got back to the place I want to be. Yes, I'm shallow, go ahead and shoot me. Be a man, step up to the plate, bend over, husky, beefy, piggy in your city, single, good for snogging, waiting for something, UB2, DMs welcome, text or sext. Is my love your drug? A work in progress? What will they think of next? Thank you.
Thank you so much, John. And thank you to Reggie as well.
Yes, thanks, Reggie.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for asking me to be part of this amazing night. You are fantastic, John, but then I've said that. I've said that to you before. So great book. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, thanks to the Song Cave. Thanks very much to the Song Cave.
Yes, yes. And thanks to everyone for coming out. I really, really appreciate it. Thanks for being here.
Thank you
so much, everybody. Thanks to all who donated.
Thank you, John.
And I
Thank you,
hope we'll
John.
see you all in the store. We're on the second floor of the LGBT Center on 13th Street. Come say hi. It's real quiet these days. So come give us some love. And John and Reggie, I hope next time we can host you in person.
Thank you.
Yay.
Yes.
Yay.
Hey, thank you. Congrats.
All right, good night all.
Good night, bye.
Night,
night.
everybody.
Good
Take
night.
care.
Thank
Love you, John.
Congratulations,
Bye,
John.
everybody.
Congrats.
Congrats, John.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye, Reggie.